Good day, my name is Scott Kinney with Discovery Education, and this is our One Idea series. Today I am joined by Dr. Carri Schneider. Dr. Schneider has a great title. She's the Director of Knowledge Design at Getting Smart. Among other things, oversees her publications, primarily focused on the innovation of teaching and learning. So, Carri, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We were talking a little bit before about the Smart Parents Project. And so you have an education background. I think you were a second grade teacher. I'd be curious why the Smart Parent. So first of all, what is the Smart Parents Project? And then I'd love to know a little bit about more why we did it.
Yeah, so Getting Smart creates a lot of resources for people across education, all the way from the school and district level, all the way up to education organizations and companies and providers. So we work with a number of organizations to create resources about changes in teaching and learning. But we found that we had a lot of parents who were accessing our materials that weren't written specifically for parents, because right now everyone is trying to make sense of all of the changes that are happening on the classroom level and just the way we interact with the world, right? So as parents are just out there Googling away, they're winding up looking at resources that we're creating. And we had this moment where we're like, this is a huge opportunity, because parents are interested in more information as they have to make a gazillion more decisions about how their kids learn every day. So we decided there was just a conversation that grew into this project that we called Smart Parents, Parenting for Powerful Learning, that we cast a really wide net and just invited everyone to contribute stories about how what they believe is the best way for their kids to learn, learning opportunities they've created for their own kids, lessons that they've had out of working with teachers in their child's classroom, really formal and informal learning opportunities. And we ran it as a blog series in partnership with Huffington Post, and then released a book in August that's a culmination of all of the stories, and then some resources for parents to parent for powerful learning starting today. So really it grew out of the sense of needing to create something specifically for parents that translates what all of us in education world, all of the lingo and terms and everything we all tend to use with each other.
So I'm curious, as you gathered all this input and had all these conversations with parents, what was the connection between how we think about providing education and the things that are important as educators versus what parents thought?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. That was the really validating and surprisingly amazing conclusion that we reached, because we were a little worried in any research. You go into it with a hypothesis about what you think may happen. And we hoped that the frameworks we all tend to use resonated with parents, but we weren't sure that was going to be the case. But when we just stripped away all of the lingo and all of the words that we tend to use to describe learning, or the way we tend to fight about, like, it should be called this or it should be called that, and we get stuck in these vocabulary wars, which are just kind of ridiculous. But when you just ask parents to say, like, describe a moment when your child was in a powerful learning experience, and it's as simple as that, and it could have happened in school or out of school, on a vacation, in your backyard, it doesn't matter. But describe that one example of that. Then you can get parents to start unpacking that experience. For me, it was, in the middle of writing this book, my daughter had a string last winter of a bunch of snow days, and it just got to the point where we were like, over it. We're snowed in. We needed something, we'd gone through all the games and puzzles, and it was during Hour of Code, where, kids can get online and do an hour of coding.
Sure.
And so I was like, I've heard about this. She had heard about it from a friend at school. She wanted to do it. I was nervous because she is a kid who, like, often doesn't want to do something that's really hard for her, because she, doesn't like that challenge sometimes. So I was a little worried that Hour of Code would flip her out, because it was going to be really, really hard for her. She's 8, So she sits down and does it, and I'm looking at her like, how are you even persisting through what it's really hard? But because she was really motivated by it, she wanted to learn it. It challenged her in a new way. It was engaging, the experience online for her. All of a sudden I'm going, wait a minute, this is what every learning experience should look like. Not necessarily with the computer sitting there, but the parts of it where it was really driven by her interest, she was ignited by it. She was willing to push through some serious challenges because she was really motivated, you know? So you can get most parents to identify a moment like that when they see their kid really engaged in learning something, and then start to map that back to, oh, we actually call that competency-based learning, or some people refer to that as personalized learning, or with the technology there, that was blended learning. But parents are not going to use those terms on their own. They just don't resonate with that.
So that's interesting, because that was my next question was, is part of the Smart Parents Project empowering parents to have those conversations with their classroom teachers or with their local schools?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we see, nationally, there's a big shift happening to more personalized learning in schools and districts. And the most successful implementation efforts that we see are the ones where, whether it's the school principal and it's like, building level or district level, or even just at the classroom level, when the conversations start with a broader conversation, like what do you want your kids to know and be able to do? Or what do you want learning to look like? Or if it's that level of a big conversation where you can all get on board around what's best for for kids, then you start to get into the weeds of like, what do we need in the classroom? What learning models do we need to get there? So when there's that broader conversation about what learning can be, then you have everyone sort of bought into it right from the beginning, and then you have those goals to connect back to the whole time. Right. When we have folks that are coming out and it's the meeting for the parents to say, oh, we're going one-to-one and here are the devices and yay, technology, or whatever it is, then people are rightfully confused about what that's going to mean for their kids, because it's not about the goals for learning, it's about the shiny new thing. So there are some things that really like along the lines of what leading most change efforts, really getting people engaged in the goals up front and not just leading with the actual strategies.
Yeah. Now, Carri, if I'm an administrator, whether it's at the district level or at a building level, how might I communicate your resources out to my parent community?
Yeah, so we have the hashtag Smart Parents that we use across all social media. So that's a place to go. Getting smart.com/Smart Parents will get you there. Parenting for Powerful Learning will as well. The actual book itself is available in all the bookstores. There's an ebook version of it too, for folks that don't want to, purchase a print copy of it. And then all of the blogs are just freely available on our website, gettingsmart.com, and on Huffington Post blog, Smart Parents. So there are lots of different ways to access the information. And really the thing we're most excited about too is over the next year, putting together resources so that principals, districts, PTAs can walk themselves through the lessons in the book and do like DIY, workshops with the lessons that grew out of the project.
Fantastic. This is Dr. Carri Schneider. Carri is the Director of Knowledge Design at Getting Smart. Carri, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks. It was great.
Take care.
Take care.